For the listener, let me say this. I think if you're starting a practice, you've got extra time on your hands.
You have more time than money.
You should absolutely be doing what Peter's saying until you get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of positive reviews. And then you're like, hey, I want this to continue to go forth. And I want to go build my next one, or I want to expand. And I've gotten to the point where I want the energies of my team on more important things. And that's fine. And then it's a scalable model. But I love the idea that we're talking about this because at different times and different practices,
life cycle is different.
Doing different things.
No, Craig did start this. It was one of my childhood ambitions, Dwight. I'm not going to lie to you. I always told my 10-year-old self, I grew up on a postage stamp. So it was one of my, you try and check the boxes to make your 10-year-old self happy. I feel like that's all that life really is.
That's
right?
well said.
And so, land was something, especially when I saw Craig and the enjoyment he got and the quality time he was having with his family and stuff like that, that it was very cool. So it was kind of like it reminded me, A, to do it, and B, I pulled trigger, even though it's a non-income producing asset that I have now, but it's been cool. So now you're right, Dwight, I'm looking at tractors and shit like that. So
I love it.
but it could be good therapy. They always say that there's good therapy when you're, can isolate yourself. Trey and Craig may be the only two of us that can have experience with this. Meaning good therapy time behind a wheel where no one can reach you and shit like that, and you're just you and your
the noise. You can't take a call on a tractor either. So it's
or even better, you're in the country where your cell phone doesn't work very well.
Yeah,
that's the best feeling.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I can't. So I have discipline, so I have to leave. I have to go to a place where there's no reception like that.
Yeah.
Good for you. So 0% interest on the John Deere. That's freaking bad.
Yeah, we'll see. I haven't told my wife yet.
So guys,
no brainer.
If you're listening,
that also you can leave that out. No brainer.
No brainer.
Yeah.
Pencils down. If you're listening to this,
pencils
and you're in
down.
the market for a John Deere, use code Bulletproof and get 0%.
Oh, don't get Dwight started. Don't get him started.
Let's do it.
Hey, Dwight. I want to say, give us some updates. Talking about building, give us some updates. You are building something quite. I have some questions for you, you're building something quite impressive again.
I'm in full mode. I was there this morning, actually.
Yeah,
in a little meeting. It was a fun little. Yeah, it's good catch up. I mean, this thing is flying up. In 2 weeks, I've got a dry building with drywall in it already. No,
right. Well, you had a steel building, right? So really, it's an erector. Insert joke here, but erecting the steel building is pretty quick.
Dwight, you have an erection going on?
Oh, I was going to say Q Craig.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
No,
you got to do that, Trey, because I could miss the softball.
Yeah, I don't want you to miss the lob.
Don't miss it.
So seriously, it's a tilt wall construction. It's going up right now. Is that what it is?
So we have a steel building, so prefabricated 10,000 square foot building. Let's see, what was that? Thursday. So a week ago and the week before that. So now it's been 2 weeks and it arrived on trucks 2 weeks ago. We've laid the slab down and now the building's fully up. Steel structure's fully up. And now they're just wrapping it in exterior walls, stucco. And then they're going to, by the 21st. So that's 2 more weeks. So it's a total of month. It'll be dried in and drywalled in a month.
So let me ask a couple of things. So is there something you've obviously built a number of, I guess this is your kind of second big build, right?
Yeah.
So is there things I'm building right now too, Dwight, an interior model, nothing as expansive as what you're doing. Invariably, just when I think I get the hang of something, this is my now 10th build. I think I've got it figured out. And then there's always something I'm like, my God. It's like a snowflake, right? They're all a little different. Where have you had any oh shit moments yet? Or you maybe you're a little more
yet done.
Huh?
Interiors typically were the oh shit moments.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yes and no. Building these buildings, what has been surprising to me is different than the other types. I've used steel in buildings for large, expansive spaces. But the rest of it was all, wood build and just custom everything and all that drama. These are so nice because you order them in essentially 10,000 square feet batches. And then there's nothing on the interior. There's no load bearing in the middle. So you can do whatever you want, right?
They're clear span buildings, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that initially I was like, well, it's just giving me a rectangle. But then they now allow for so much variability in the look of the building. You can insert, you can choose that the front, because there's just giant lip of a freeway right in front of it. So we decided to raise the front of the building.
You pitched it, huh?
So I pitched it just to make it look even bigger than the buildings around it.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, all these little things that you're like, wow, that's actually pretty easy. And you just kind of put it on order. It's amazing how practical that is. I do think that even walking through it today, it just has a lot more. I was walking with part of my team through it. It just has a lot more presence than you would have thought. And it's just less complex, because we walked in and we said, actually, we want to make this room a little bigger and kind of make some changes. And it's just it's a lot easier because it's a
right, because it's not a support or anything.
Yeah.
So I think Craig is right, and that I think a little more of the oh shit moments come from, oh man, this outlet should have been 12 inches over here, and why is it above counter?
Yep.
For example, I just caught something down here, and they were drawing a water line down to like my cafe area, and I was like, I never had that on the plans. They're like, yeah, you did. There's an ice maker. I was like, there's no ice maker. We don't have an ice maker. So stuff like that. Where I think Craig is right. I think it's really
the interior. Yes. The plumbing right now, I did find some plumbing that was like, they started right on par at one side of the building, and they kept measuring, and they're taping down the walls, or they're slapping down the walls of where they're supposed to be. By the time they got to the other end of the building, it's like slightly off, and there's some plumbing outside of walls now. So now they got to go and adjust it.
Yeah, no, that's easy. That PVC is an easy fix. Did you listen to the mastermind call from last Friday by chance?
Some of it. I got to.
I actually talked about that, because we went over a segment called like the things, like 6 things I wish I had known kind of thing, and I led that, and plumbing was in there, right? Yeah. Meaning every office I've ever built, the plumber had gone in and put 90-degree. And Trey, you were saying they had put 90-degree bends in the HVAC. Yeah. I'm sorry, in the vacuum, not HVAC, in the vacuum lines. And and really from a Bernoulli's principle, it crushes the suction power. Craig, insert another joke there. Yeah. So in every single project, Dwight, I have had to go in and be like, what are you guys doing? At minimum, use 245s, and at best, use a sweep line, not a 90 degree. So I'm glad you're on site is where I'm going with this. So many of us, Trey, you had an experience where you actually had to rip up the concrete, right?
Yeah, this episode with Bulletproof.
I have dealt with that though.
What, Craig?
This episode, plumbing with the Bulletproof boys.
Oh God, shut up.
But you know what?
The minute something gets technical or plumbing guys, I'm out. I just want to do kumbaya shit. No.
I love that you brought up the 245s. And here's the thing.
Thanks,
I've got
Dwight.
my plumbing guys out there. I got my construction guys. And then I've got on top of that, my supplier, they're like, oh, my dental supply guy's going out there. Burkhart, Patterson, whoever the hell you use. They're going out to inspect it. So it's on them, right? It's on them.
Right.
I still go check the 245s. And no matter what, and I check because I don't know, it's not an obsessive thing. It's because every time I find something stupid.
No, it's a smart thing.
Yeah, it's a very smart thing, right? Yeah. And that is a micro fix on the front end and a catastrophic fix on the back end, right, Trey?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, that's cool. So there was a bunch of other examples. We won't go into there for fear of Craig saying like the minutia. He's going to crush me on the minutia here.
He'll go to sleep.
Let's go into
going dark on it.
Let's go into
sleep.
Let's go into feelings. Feelings.
There
he just popped up. Look at it. Look at the energy in his face.
So I love feelings.
Guys, when I do a plumbing job or a drywall job, I always make sure that you have a good breather and a good amount of drywall mud. Don't give me that shit breather, No.
The breather, you had us there, but the mud, not so much. Mud is standard.
Mud.
So you lay pipe and then blow mud.
He definitely.
That's not good, man. That's not good.
Speaking
of laying pipe, I got hosed, Trey. You could have bought my F-250 for a steal.
Oh, yeah. Well, apparently I still can right now.
Well, I know, but what's up with you? You're a Texan, and I put all this work into the truck. You could have just picked that up so easily.
It's true.
But
it's true. Do y'all care to explain for the people who are not?
So anyway, I sometimes you got to go too far in life to know when is the right amount, and I went too far with my lifted F-250. Peter, you're partly to blame because you said, man, you got me into the Raptor. And then you're like, you know what the real flex is? I'm like, what? You sent me that Roush F-250.
Yeah.
And once you sent that to me, I was hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
Stuck in your head.
But yeah, but one thing for the listener.
That car was too alpha for you.
It wasn't even those too
He
alpha.
needed to downgrade.
It wasn't too alpha. Because listen, I'm very comfortable in my Prius.
Blowing mud, so you know.
No, but it's for those that are contemplating. F-250 is a hard daily driver. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. But now you're happy. All right.
I'm
All
happy.
right.
All our
Why
plus
is it,
missions
it's
are
like
up.
it's like 80% of the trucks on the road here in Houston. So why is it a hard daily?
Well, you
drive?
got that highway
Well,
bounce.
listen.
You got that highway bounce, man.
Yeah. So if you're hauling a 16,000 pound trailer or a cattle trailer once a week, you're gonna have to eat some, shit sandwiches and drive it. But if you take a trailer once every quarter, you don't want to have your fillings rattled out of your head.
And it's a 6x8 that he's dragging.
Yeah.
I'm so amazed
I'm
by
kidding.
this conversation.
Craig actually has a legit farm, like with legit farm equipment and like
With real chickens.
real shit.
Real
Like, so I can't poke
cows.
fun at that anymore.
No, I love it. I love it.
Trey, talk to us about your builds. What's going on? Builds, acquiring, building, metaphorically speaking.
So May 1st, we opened our startup. Build is done.
Nice.
And
So
then
tell me, let's unpack this. May 1st was opening, okay?
May 1st was opening. Nightmare to get
Yep.
through it all. Had
They
to
always are.
extend. We went into, I think we went into 8.5 months from the day I signed to actually
Okay.
finish. I finished Sunday. I opened Monday.
Yeah,
No
it's about
soft
always great
opening,
work.
no anything. Just opened and ran with it. And that, that's been a rough gig from the standpoint of it was difficult to market. It was difficult to handle anything because we were still buried in trying to get it done. But yeah, it opened up. We got month one out of the way.
So ideally, what do you think is a time? I think this is good. This is good fodder, right? If you're opening an office, Dwight, how long do you give yourself a soft opening for?
Soft opening.
I do a full week of friends and family is where I'm going with this.
No, we don't even
I do. I'm just telling what I do because
Yeah,
I can't afford what.
I'm thinking about the last few. It was no more than 3 days.
Okay. Well,
we
that's
do,
a 4-day
we do
work.
2 to 3 days if all is appropriate. Everything goes according to plan.
So Trey, yeah, that is pretty ballsy to get in there and be like, all right, let's see how shit works with
Oh,
live
man,
patients.
it
Right?
was a rough first day.
Yeah.
The saving grace is we didn't have a packed schedule because we weren't sure when we were going
Got
to
it.
finish. So it was hard to market to pick a schedule. So we had a handful of patients day one. We had plenty of space, and it was just explained, hey, this is what might happen, and we give people breaks on cost if that runs into issues during their appointment.
Got it.
Can I tell you why it took me a while to think about that answer? You know,
Sure.
It's interesting while you're saying that. It's because every time it's been less and less. I think that over time it's kind of like, because right now this next one we're opening this 10,000 the building for that practice. So we've got like 4 to 5, if I'm correct, 4 or 5 people that are being added to that team that are currently hired and trained at
Right.
central location, which we used to not do, right? So I think that's maybe part of the reason why we probably won't even do a soft opening in the
It
next.
wasn't so much for the people, Dwight,
for
as it
equipment.
was just exactly. Thank you, Trey. Yeah, it's more just like shit just goes. You have to have some dry runs, and sometimes things don't manifest until like a couple cycles in. Is where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
So it's not the people at all. I hear you.
No, I
It's
hear
in
what
that 10,000. In that 10,000, Dwight, you're not doing 10,000 dental though, right? You're doing about half dental.
yeah, about half.
Yeah, and then you're leasing. Is it already pre-leased or is it just ready to go? Like,
I've got 2 people fighting over it, and I haven't decided yet or gone with it.
As only one other tenant.
Well, it's there's one that only wants half of it, the other one wants the whole thing, and then they have the one who wants the smaller half of it has another tenant that could want the other half. So it's kind of like, I like a secured one because I like a single tenant to take on both spots, and more importantly, they're kind of a less of a car traffic type. So I'm trying to figure out some of those dynamics.
and honestly, Dwight, I think the signage will look clunky if you start getting a bunch of 1,000 foots. You know what I mean? Like it make it look cleaner, it'll distract
agreed.
from yours. So
Yeah,
We had that. We were talking about signage on the mastermind a bunch, and there was someone who was like, "Hey, how big should I go on the signage?" And Craig and Trey were like, Dwight, you too. I think even I don't know, you weren't there, but you would have said this. You know, it was like, how big will they allow you to? You know, from the county perspective. And he's like, but that could be like $50,000. And Craig and Trey are like, yeah, it'll be over the lifespan of the building, the best money you could have ever thought about spending.
Oh,
I actually told them I'll buy the sign for you, and you can
Run it off.
me.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, if you think about your new building expense, and you categorize the signage into a marketing expense, just for your own mental math, because some people that are listening to this may be contemplating a new build, and you know, looking at the numbers, you know, 10, 20, whatever, $30,000 a month, whatever the daunting level of expenditure is. You could actually think, okay, if I have two signs or one large sign, how much does a local billboard cost? A local billboard costs $6,000, $7,000. You can categorize some of your building expenses marketing just for your own mental math to make you feel better about it, because it's massive. I mean, your new buildings, the building that Trey has or Dwight or we all have, the biggest portion of it is curb appeal. And for all the thousands of people that drive by, if you're on a busy main.
Well, that was like the other example we were kind of analyzing on behalf of someone, was like looking at buying something inside of an office park or an office building. And we basically were like, whatever you're going to spend 10x over the course of marketing to get patients in the door in this building, as you would have just kind of a standalone build. Yes, building is $350 per square foot. Yes, it's going to be more expensive. And we kind of ran through, it was pretty neat. We kind of ran through all the math, and it was like, oh, wow.
But the
Dwight,
building is also a more efficient expenditure too, guys. So the marketing expense is you literally save the dollars you spent. But with a building, you know, with the way the tax laws are, and you know, bonus depreciation, cost segregation, stuff like that, each dollar you spend in the building is so much more efficient.
And also, Craig, to your point, recouping that in a sale, if one day there's a sale, right? No different than like renovating your kitchen at your house. You're probably going to recoup that at the sale. Why not live in your money?
Right.
But you're never going to recoup the marketing expense.
No,
You could have
completely gone.
Completely gone.
Well, I mean, there's a recurring, I guess you could argue, because, you know, as a guy who used to spend $30,000 for television advertising, we stopped it 10 years ago. We still get patients.
Okay. All right. Well, but for argument's sake, let's just say that you know, when it's gone, it's gone. Right.
The signage always gets bigger on every new build they make.
Oh, for sure.
It's funny. The local ordinance, though, that, you know, there's always a battle with trying to fight it. I think that's why we were like, how big would they let you? Because typically the tendency is for communities to kind of push smaller and smaller kind of thing, right? Because it detracts from an architectural standpoint. Dwight, how many ops are you putting in? And then Trey, I have the same question to you, per square foot. So 5,000, you're putting in 10. So that's 500 square feet per op. It's gonna be pretty spacious.
Correct.
Good. Trey, same.
I have 5 ops and 2,000 square feet.
So 400. Craig, if you had to do your math on yours, just to give some context, your building.
13,000 square feet, 18 ops currently.
Okay. So even like 8. Yeah. Okay.
But
and then Craig, where are you on your build, your expansion right now?
So we're still in plans. There's a lot of moving parts because we have to stay operational the whole time. So we're going to be adding, I think, only 3,000 new square feet or 2,500 new square feet additional. But we'll be putting 5 operatories in.
You pulled trigger though, right? I know that you were kind of okay.
No, I'm doing it.
And
I'm reluctantly doing it though, guys. I feel like, you know, business.
Why?
I always think of because dentistry is really retail, right? At its core. I'm sorry to offend the listeners that take offense to that, but retail establishments need to stay fresh and relevant. And also, either you know, to quote Peter from prior podcast, you're either growing or dying. And innovation, this is done with a different spirit. It used to be like, I've got to do this. I want to do it. Not that I got to do it, but I want to do it. It's going to be so exciting. I'm doing it because I have to do it. Like I feel like if I don't, I'm going to start coasting, and coasting's the beginning of dying.
Is that a strong enough gravitational pull, Craig?
It has to be. It's fine. There's a lot of things I do that I have to do, but it will be badass. I'm going to redo the entire interior. It's going to be a really
it is top tier. You guys, like, I look at the level. Trey, your camera went out. I look at Craig's, like, the plans, you know, and the organizational and the architectural things that are set up. and it's crazy. It's crazy how high level, high brow your contractors and such are.
Yeah, I'm going full out. Like it's gonna really blow this away. And every piece of material that we're having this place is gonna be gone. This place is 12 years old, Pete.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. It looks great though. Still, I can say that as someone
11 years old. I'm sorry. I didn't
just
even know.
there, so I can say that it looks still great.
Well, one thing you said, Craig, that I think is really important to touch on is in retail, you need to have a refresher. That's important. Even if it's nothing but a paint job every 4 or 5 years. But that makes a big difference.
Ooh, look at Trey just came back with his Lumina camera on.
Look at that. I didn't do anything. I just opened it and I popped up close up.
Look at
Hey guys.
Look at
Hey,
this.
you look great. Wow.
Look at that beard. Look at that beard. Look at that gray.
I mean, for those of you not able to watch of all the ones where Trey was just a little speck on the screen, now he is full face and glorious on your screen.
It's glorious.
All
It
of you
is.
with
Glorious.
Individual fibers of your beard.
I mean,
it's
you
pretty
really
solid. Little
can't-
curly cues going in every direction.
for those people who can't grow a beard, that beard hurts people's feelings.
Yeah, your beard is toxic masculinity, Trey. Can you
I
tone
was
it
just
down?
told recently, yeah. Well, my wife said that is unacceptable.
And she's Persian, so like Persians
That's
grow
right.
beards when they're 14.
She basically has a beard.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Don't play this. Don't play this.
We don't have an editor, brother. We
Yeah,
don't have
sorry,
an
it goes,
editor.
it goes live. It's okay. It's okay.
It's too late.
It's too late. It's too
Um,
late.
Unacceptable is a common word for a Persian, though, so you're good.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So one thing that we're doing, I told you kind of like about the build, but also, and I think I mentioned this either on a pod or, sometimes I confuse the context of where we had conversations. But anyway, we're building out a giant lab.
Right.
I determined, and I think I told you guys, but did we have this discussion on a podcast?
I think on office hours.
Okay. So we spend about $2 million a year in labs in my aggregate ecosystem. Okay.
Yep.
So, and I've always been hesitant to open up an in-house lab, mainly because I saw at my first associateship in 2001 or 2 or whatever it was, I saw a practice that did it, and it was such a shit show. And it went from a degradation of quality, right? And so maybe, and Craig, you've always kind of pushed me to kind of like look at that, so to speak, whether it's in-house mailing or whatever. Again, it wasn't until recently that I was like, look, our spend justifies this. I think that's a big inflection point where that there's a big cost savings or efficiencies that could happen, speed to delivery, these kind of things. And I think the tech is finally there. So anyway, making a pretty sizable investment actually right next door. And I got to say, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited about it. These are giant pieces of equipment. So they all, I know we've all seen like the tabletop things, but like we got a lab. Like these are the printers, the 3D printers are the size of refrigerators.
Yeah.
The milling,
Yeah,
the
you can- what
zirconium
brand
miller is.
Are you going
is,
carbon?
No, bud, no. Nope.
You won't talk about it. I forget. Go on.
I'll tell you. But they're giant and they're automated and they're made for high level of high production lab. So anyway, I'm updating as I'm asking you guys updating and I'm asking myself the question, what's new with you, Pete? Since none of you jackasses will ask me.
Well, I'll give you my opinion on the lab because I think we talked about this. Hopefully it wasn't on a pod. If it was, comment below that we're getting old and senile. But a lab is not in itself a cost savings thing. I contend that it's not, but I think it's such a massive patient benefit. I've got a buddy of mine who drove an hour and a half because he can have a same day crown. It's just in my mouth. If I broke a tooth or when I break a tooth, I am going to do everything in my power to make sure I can get it done the same day. It's just better. I don't want to get it out twice. I don't want to deal with it all. So I think even if you didn't lower your lab costs by a single dollar, Pete, it's going to be a net positive to your practice. And there are 2 ways to make money: either save more or earn more. Yeah. So let's just say it actually costs you 10% more, but it helps you generate 30% more business. Win. Who cares? Mm-hmm. So I think you're on the wrong. I like where you're going, but once you see it, because you don't know the myriad of benefits of same day and immediacy of results and stuff like that. And the differentiation factor alone.
The cool thing is, Bud, is like kind of going back to like the benefits of partnership is that I am the least educated in this realm of dentistry than all of the dentists in my ecosystem, especially my partners. There's some guys that are just absolute wizards in the whole digital workflow, and they are going to absolutely discover things that are going to be transformative, I think, for dentistry. I am looking for ceramists and digital designers at this point. So if you're hearing this and know someone, or you're, I reach out to me, because we are actively looking. We've got some good people.
Hey,
what are you laughing at?
Pete, he's laughing at Trey's screen because it looks so good and it keeps going back and forth. So every time
I am looking at Trey, looking
the
at
AI
himself.
is following me around.
Yeah,
so it's moving my stuff as I move.
The look of pleasure, and then watch, slow down, stop. Watch what it does. Watch what it does to him.
And it comes close.
It really zooms in like a theatrical thing. Don't move. It just zooms in on him. And I'm just watching him looking at himself, admiring his beard.
No, he's gone from his 500K webcam to
you went
like
from
4K camera.
You went from Commodore 2000 to like better than Peter's. Okay, go ahead, Dwight.
I think the biggest issue with what you're talking about as far as the transition of a lab from being able to get things done quickly, it may not be the best you can get, blah, blah, to then taking it to this level of massive quality and expectation and blah, 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 blah. I think the biggest difference, I know it was for me, and I know that Craig, you scaled up your lab also because of this. It's when you had a pioneer doctor or a doctor who was willing to kind of spearhead the project.
Yep.
That was fully bought in. That now just keep amping it up. Because one thing is to bring Ceramists, and they have the capability to do that, and it's awesome. You can do all kinds of things. But when you've got a doctor who's going to double down on making sure that it doesn't just look beautiful, because the ceramist will make it look beautiful and give you a bulky buckle cusp that locks in the bite, jacks you up, and can rip out even an implant. But the truth is when it's all held in there, it's all brought into accountability, and you start merging that, guess what? Your quality of patient care also increases with the development of the lab.
Very good point.
And so I think that, I believe Dr. Gandhi is the one that's really kind of for you. And I mean, a brilliant human being like him, who not only has a passion for what he does, but has a passion who's going to make an impact across the board. Like, that makes a big difference. Bart does a lot of that for you. Like, Bart's coming
in as an owner in the lab too, by the way. I didn't tell you guys that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And even at a smaller scale, even if you're just bringing in Cerac, if you've got your doctors buying in on that and holding accountable to each other, and new associates come in and they're looking at the associates preps together, even in a doctor's lounge, something to that degree, the lab makes everything go up. So and so I'm just adding that to Craig, adding values. The values are sometimes different than like, is it going to rain money? No, but the value ROI to the practice and to the individual doctors, and then more so to the patient, it blows it all
Peter,
out of the water.
I'm hearing a similar thing in Peter too. It's like, are you really excited about this personally? Probably not, but it's something important to your organization, and it's important to the doctor that's going to spearhead it, and it's really good. But
I am excited, Craig. I'm excited because I think it's like you said, it's growth or contraction, but you got to pick one. And I think there's many ways to do it beyond the scope of just building more things. And I think so I do think I am excited. I feel a little ignorant, quite honestly, in the tech, but I just don't have the bandwidth to stay current with it.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy spearheading it. I was that guy. I was buying all sorts of fancy equipment, and they turned into code hangers because no one gave a crap about it. So you got to find someone who actually cares, and then back that person. Yep. Your skill is that I've got marketing and dollars to spend, but you guys all have to love it and promise you're going to use it.
Right. And that was a conversation. I think, Dwight, you actually said that it was like, look, this is an all or nothing. If all of us don't agree that this is going to become like pushing in, then like it makes no sense. It makes no sense. So awesome. Did any of you guys put down, actually I have an update. I know I'm moving all over the place, unless anyone has anything else on that lab thing.
No. What is it?
That's what, let me say one thing on the lab thing. You mentioned growth and how it is, you're building, there's a lot of growth, you're growing or dying, you want to be moving in that direction. There's a lot of ways to grow, and it is not always bigger, better, faster. It's not always revenue, and it's not always profit. There are other more creative ways to grow that will also lend itself to those things. And a lab's a really good example of that, because we use a lab for training.
Yep.
So now I can from a distance have someone else put eyes on preps from anybody sending to us, and we use an eye to limit chair time. Because I don't want to do same day treatment, but I want to have decreased time in temporaries, and I want to have decreased adjustments made.
That's exactly it, Trey. You hit it. Craig, here's why I'm excited. And Trey, you nailed it for me. It's a vertical integration that reduces my vulnerability on me having to beg and call every lab. Can I please have this in 3 weeks? No, sorry, we're 6 weeks out. Fuck, really? I got to keep this person in temps for, so that couldn't have happened, I guess is the bonus of that, is that couldn't happen until this inflection point of having, to me, an aggregate level of revenues where I'm like, okay, I justify it. And I actually asked a number of people who were very wise in the field of starting a lab. And I was like, what levels of production or collections do you think that an office should be looking at bringing it in-house? Take a gander. What do you think? The levels, full stage. So not just a printing, but full stage milling, pressing.
I had a full-time ceramist. We were doing like 2.5 million.
2.5. Okay. Dwight, what would your guess be? Or
I would have thought closer to 5. Just
Trey,
the inherent cost of technology.
I would lean more towards Craig. 2.5 million, you can justify it.
Yeah. So the consensus in the room of people who kind of had been there, done that, I guess you could say, was around right at about 4 million.
Okay.
Was the thing. They said that's it. Where so everyone's you guys are kind of split the meat.
But
you guys,
listen, we're kind of consolidating all the business models too. If you're just a solo doc, I know this guy in Aspen. He's been in our podcast before, Andrew. He is one doctor, one set of hands, a couple patients a day. He has a lab. He pays his lab tech really good money, and it's a massive benefit to his practice.
Yeah,
he can charge. So it's not a one size fits all trade.
I understand, Craig.
But I just think one thing that I'm really excited for you, Peter, is I bet after you go through the process and it's a year in your review mirror, you're going to say, shit, I would have done this a long freaking time ago.
Yeah. Like Trey, there's going to be some there's some sweet ass kicking coming up for me and us in the next between now and Thanksgiving for sure. I'm going to be in the mud. I always talk about in the dirt and clouds, and like this is going to be some dirt coming up. But it makes the clouds a lot sweeter when you get back out of them.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I don't know how we would practice and do what we do without a lab.
That's so cool. I'm fired up. Well, thanks, guys. That's good. That's good. That's good call. Okay, so my update on my end, I'm going to pivot real quick to just kind of automation and things that I've noticed and things that as I switch to an automated platform for my reviews, I can now have data points. As you guys remember, my review aggregation protocol, if you will, was having people independently reach out. So a year ago, we were sending kind of curated messages asking for reviews. As of recently, we had a software that was like, don't worry about this. We got this now. I have some data. Does anyone want to guess the difference?
Oh, yeah. Can I guess?
Please.
Your software is 25% as good as your old process. So
Trey?
4 times more reviews with your
Trey?
other process.
I'm going to go double in the other direction.
You're going to guess that my reviews have gone up with the software?
I'm just gauging by your prowess. And
right. That's what I'm thinking too.
He likes to tell you, how right and how good I am. If it was
Trey
saying, no, but let's hear it.
That is not what I'm saying at all.
Right, Nick,
the second I bring any kind of value to and I do the research and I bring the conversation, you just want to crush it.
I love you, Peter. So shut the fuck up.
All right, Dwight, what's your guess?
My guess is exactly, I'm reading the same situation where I'm sure that the person who did interact with them at the front desk or on the team and asked for a personal review is more likely to get the review than the piece of software.
Yeah. Okay. So
you say Peter's process better than software.
I'm not saying better. Look,
no, I know, but I just know.
I'm not saying. Hear me out. Hear me out.
Yeah,
I'm not saying better, Craig. I'm saying what I'm saying is one is easy button, automated, takes zero human effort. Right.
Right. The other one takes.
So there is some value to that. Meaning
I would pick the zero human effort button, even if it's only 25% as effective.
Okay, it's 43. It's 43% difference.
43%.
So
I would do it every day.
I'm going to jump in on this and tell you, I thought
so. I was
25% better than that.
I was the closest one
because when you automate software and add that, you do not replace the human touch. You automate the software, you do that, and you still say, "Hey, we're going to send you."
No. I hear you on asking for it, but like you can't. I'm saying from a digital means, the outreach was sending a curated text message versus a stamped template of what it sends out to everyone. That was what I'm saying.
Can we go off topic just for one sec? I'm
Sure.
proud of myself that I know you so well, Peter.
Well,
Because
we were
when
all
you ask
laughing.
a question,
I know.
I honestly listen. If Trey asked that question, I would say software's winning. But I think, and again, this might be a bias, and I do love you very much, Peter. I'll say it again. I do think this is a way for Peter Bull to say, "I've got an amazing process."
Look at me.
Look at me. That's why I said it.
I actually, okay, fair enough. Maybe I don't even know my own blind spots, but like what I was trying to say was, in this instance, the old school way, is superior to tech, and I think that it goes back to Trey's comment, the human touch.
Human touch wins.
All right, I'll tell you what.
Here's the gig. Here's what you have to think of. Tech is not a replacement of it. It should be used in supplement too.
Yeah, but
Trey, you don't do that, Trey.
There can be a bombardment of spam by them.
We have tons of people do that, and we constantly talk it from people saying, "Hey, we're going to send you something."
No, I understand that, but Peter's process was generating an outbound piece of communication. Do you do that?
No, I standardize that. That doesn't do anything.
All right, so let me come to the consensus of the conclusion of what I was trying to say.
Sure.
And this goes in treatment presentation and all the things, in my opinion. Craig, you smiling?
I just have so many rips, and I'm in the mood to rip on people. I'm just going to keep it quiet. I'm going to be quiet.
It's all right. You know what? I'm just going to be the guest listener. You guys go ahead.
I have these little.
No, but keep going. I want to hear your program.
All right. So in dentistry, I think when you can create, it's so easy for me when I get automated text to ignore them. No one will know that I'm doing right. It's zero accountability between the human and the human.
Of course.
Right. Even though, Trey, you said, "Hey, we're going to send you something." If I, Peter Boulden, am in your office, you're like, "We're going to send you something." I'm like, cool. And then I get the obviously templated text verbiage from it. I'm like, they'll never know that I'm not going to do this. Delete. Versus saying, "Hey, I might send you, Sally, or I hygienist might send you something. I'm going to send you something later today. If you have time, it'd be awesome if you could do this." Yes, I will. No, I won't. And then it's actually received on a personal level, right?
Wait, how is that not templated? You make a unique one every single time?
Yes.
And how do you do that? Like
through the message, through the SMS app protocol of the software.
No, but what's the content of it to make it unique for every single patient?
Enjoyed our visit today, Sally.
I can't wait. No, you just changed their name.
All right, let me finish. Right,
I'm listening.
Hey, enjoyed our time together, Sally. I hope you really enjoyed Disney World. If you have some time today, I know I talked about the review. Please take 30 seconds and put up some stars for us. Can't wait to see you when you get back.
Good on you. That's all right. That's what I'm looking for. So the
love
vast majority of people, and I would argue you would have done this too, would claim that it's better, and you would still template it. You still would not have that deep of a deal.
Right.
But that is correct if you do.
Trey, I called it. I said you would not be willing to do what Peter's doing. Peter does.
Guys, that's
that's not true either. But the idea though is making sure you go to that level to do it. Otherwise, it's not worth doing.
Right. I'm not willing to do it.
No, me neither.
Well, I'm not doing it either, guys. I'm saying
no, I'm not willing to have people do it.
I'm not willing to implement that type of a template that lacks scalability.
It's not a template, but okay, I hear you. It lacks scalability, therefore the human touch.
So let's look at numbers.
Am I the only one?
Pick your biggest office. How many reviews do you have?
I don't know. I think I'm the only one of us though that is strictly fee for service. Dwight, are you strictly fee for service? Yeah. So maybe mine mandates that I have to do that. I don't know. Who knows?
No, it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
For the listener, let me say this. I think if you're starting a practice, you've got extra time on your hands.
You have more time than money.
You should absolutely be doing what Peter's saying until you get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of positive reviews. And then you're like, hey, I want this to continue to go forth. and I want to go build my next one, or I want to expand, and I've gotten to the point where I want the energies of my team on more important things. And that's fine. And then it's a scalable model. But I love the idea that we're talking about this, because at different times and different practices,
life cycle
you
is
should be
different.
doing different things. That's
Trey,
all
I think we have about, I think aggregate probably 2,500 reviews, and I think
Not
probably the
aggregate,
biggest one,
single office.
1,100.
Okay. So my bet is that all of us are going to be somewhere in that 1,000 range.
Yeah.
In that, from every single different deal. And granted, yes, for fee for service, there's different size patient bases, there's different areas from a geographic standpoint. But the argument that I would make, although I fully agree with yours, because I think a personal touch is always better and will always get more, but the end result is going to be ballpark the same.
Hey Pete,
Long-term.
what office has, what did you say, 1,100?
Mm-hmm.
Which one has 1,100
So
reviews?
Missouri
I can't
City
call
for
it.
us is 953.
Okay.
Which one now?
Buckhead.
Buckhead. Let's see it.
I would think it would be Buckhead, right?
So Trey, I agree. I agree. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good stuff.
So the point I'm making is, if you do a unique test of, hey, we did this, now we did this, which one's better? That's academic masturbation. Because which one's better is going to be, yeah, maybe, but it's
Well,
you
which
have to
one's
factor
more
in the life
which
cycle, the
one's more effective to
practice,
the
like
net?
Dwight said.
So Trey, I track this. So this is interesting. I'm glad you're bringing it up. Which one's better? Do they both get the job done? Yes. But I actually I have reporting back on the number of reviews per location per month, because I want to make sure that cadence stays consistent. Because if we've all seen where an office or an operator will say, hey, we haven't had a review in 6 months. What the hell are y'all doing? Then all of a sudden you have a burst in reviews at your office.
Sure.
And then it goes back to being a ghost town. Guess who sees that data and doesn't like it? And it's not the consumer. Google.
Yeah.
Right? Because that you're obviously doing just what I told you to do, and they kind of know that. So the cadence is really important to me, as is the volume of that cadence. So
But I agree with that. But I do the
Okay.
exact same thing on a totally different story. My point being, they both work and generate the exact same. Life cycle of practice factors in, all those other things do it. The idea becomes, or I guess my argument would be, both would be best. Make
Right,
it,
but also,
like,
I
But
want to
you
talk.
can't have too many touch points, though. You can't ask someone too many times, is where I'm going. And if so, there can't be redundant asks. One from a software, one from a human, one from this.
I agree with that. I just want to say one other point to this as well, is the human capital that it requires to do this. And Peter, I take my hat off to you, because it's a lot. But I there's so many things that our people have to do, and there's so many things I want them to do. It would have to be
Pick and choose.
extremely different to me to allocate the human capital to do that. And again, it's just a different way of looking at it.
What if it was one person?
Well, it depends on what other hats that one person wears. You know,
Okay.
you lose that.
I mean,
All right.
listen, Peter,
Can I-
I'm going to bring something up. Like, Peter has, some of his key people, or many of his key people, write out like a description of what they've done, right, on a daily. You have a couple people that do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's an incredibly valuable thing in its understanding of what they do in my culture and for my specific thing. And I cannot say this is right or wrong. So there's no judgment in this. I would not do that,
Yeah, but Craig, one of my, the main reason I do that isn't just so I can see how much you're doing. It's are we aligned? And honestly, one of my superpowers, and I said this to you guys all the time, there's not many, but I see things like 3 steps before most people, right? And so I'm like, I want to make sure they're working on the right thing directionally.
But in a daily though, Pete.
But daily, sometimes it helps course correct so that that daily direction doesn't turn into a 30-day waste of time.
So I'm interested in the longevity of the data. So because the problem for me, the reason I claim it's scalable, and I don't want people to just be like, well, multiple locations, you have to think only about scalability. I think consistency in human work, whether there's turnover, whether there's some people you've gotten onto them, therefore they're doing the reviews pretty, obsessively and doing what they need to do. If we were to say, I don't know, like you just asked, so you've got Tippit's main office, you got 825 reviews. Spodak, I know you went through a big drop. You're at 945 again. You were in the whatever thousand, whatever. And then Atlanta Dental Spa, Buckhead 721. You might have lost some reviews too. I don't know. Fort Bend Dental Shore 953. We're all within that same category. And I'm interested in knowing how many years we've been asking for that, because I think that for me, since the beginning, I slapped a podium or whatever and automated this stuff from the very beginning, which is why I have my results. And I have reason to believe that I might have been doing this for less years than some of us have. And therefore I have to think back and I have to say, well, maybe asking for it is a humanistic activity, which means it's not consistent. And maybe over time, consistency might be software. That's my thought. I'm curious.
That's a good point. I mean, now you're valuing consistency over
years and years and years.
Well, yeah, correct. And that's what adds up. Small baby steps leading to big results.
This is just another illustration of why I think dentistry is the most beautiful profession.
I agree. Right? I agree. It's a great example.
We have different approaches, different psychologies about why and how we should do it. And we all, like Dwight saying, we all end up around the same point.
I don't even remember how many I had. Do y'all remember how many?
It was a lot, like 1,200 maybe.
I think you were at 1,200. You're at like 945.
No,
now.
but like before I got them all removed, it was like 1,300. I remember it went down to 800. I was mortified when it went down to 800. I didn't know it was going down to
dude, you were like, I remember you calling me, like, I'm gonna sue Google.
Well,
I was like, you're gonna lose.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. We went from being the highest rated dentist in like Florida to the worst rated dentist in my entire county. They'd only left bad ones, which is wild to me because we never literally. I would even tell team members beforehand, like, well, I want to write a review. I'm like, have you become a patient yet? Don't do it until. So it's wild, but yeah, I do believe Google, like Yelp, and again, this is just my speculation. They are in the advertising business. And if you have a dentist in a small community like a Fort Bend Dental that's got 1,000 reviews and the second closest rated dentist is 45 reviews on Yelp or whatever, they're going to take you down. They have to, or else how would anybody want to participate in their spend?
And I think it's incredibly important to have these conversations, because if what happened to Craig happens to me, in 6 months, I might have normally freaked out, and I'm gonna be like, "Hey, Greg, it was me too," because it's
but
the
I mean,
reality
you should
of it.
freak out because they can do that to you. But the same way, a sitting president of the United States could be deplatformed. If I mean, I'm not making it political, but if you can be a president and be kicked off of Twitter, what's going to stop Google from kicking off measly Dwight and Fort Bend Dental?
Exactly.
Good luck with that.
1,000%. Yeah.
It's like social. It's like redistribution of social credit. You can't be too big.
Yeah.
And granted, if I was in Atlanta Metro, maybe, there'd be other sizable competition. There's other dentists that have ratings that are in the magnitude of your number, Peter, maybe not your quality of all 5 stars, but you have other dentists in Buckhead that
for sure. We are not the Lone Ranger. That's for sure. You are absolutely right.
You're highest rated, but your numbers are not that remarkable.
Completely. Yeah. I wasn't claiming that at all.
I know. I'm just saying that that's the reason why I think
that's the reason why it's foot on the gas always, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
That's all I got. I was kind of
just to make a moral lesson to that, guys, to bring it back to feelings, because that's what I love to do. So when that happened to me, I figured, like, holy shit, I am completely fucked. Like, the phones will stop ringing. We're going out of business. I am certain there was a massive economic impact to that. Potentially in the millions of dollars. But what's great about, being in practice and a business owner, and essentially being bulletproof, is your resilience. So for those that are listening that are facing something that is like, holy shit, this is going to completely demolish. This is the first step of all the dominoes falling of my entire life and my business. I can tell you it's not. No. Your business is resilient. Your people are resilient. And if it's a flood or a fire or a Google, it's just par for the course, and you will get through it, and it'll actually make you happier. What makes people happy is resilience, being able to survive the insult. It's not that the insult should or shouldn't happen, because I thought that was super unfair. Why me? Why me? And then I'm like, you know what? I don't have cancer. Shut the fuck up. It's Google. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, be thankful. And I think if you don't get that message and you wallow in the why me, God or the universe, whatever you believe in, will turn up the volume and crush your balls even harder. So whatever you're going through,
You know,
thank you.
I completely agree with that, Greg. Sometimes the context is super important of like the woe is me. And
we all do it.
I got to tell you though, I have actually started, I think I mentioned this on the mastermind call, is that I really review whenever I'm feeling like, how am I doing? How's things doing? Or vulnerable or whatever. I actually review the pathway just to audit, to make sure that things are being done along the way, right? The reviews and all this thing. I really look at like, how strong are we in all these things? And if I can say like really strong, then guess what? Like, it actually makes me feel better. Maybe that's, Greg, you're going to say, well, that's your own cooking. Of course, you're going to feel that way and all that stuff. But like, I think having whatever it is, your own process, your own pathway, Dwight, I'm sure you have your own, I always give the example of, pilots. My dad flew through planes for 30,000 hours. He didn't need a checklist on his last flight, but he walked around and did it with one.
Yeah.
I think having processes and something you can say, okay, the plane is safe to fly. Okay, the practice is as bulletproof as it can be. Right. I think it's just nice to have that, as opposed to, I hope things are doing okay right now. I don't know, Hope they
and diversification too, Peter. One thing that's super important. I was talking to a dentist yesterday. Is like, I definitely don't want to own my own practice. So he said to me, so business ownership is not for me. I'm like, hold it. I understand that you don't want to own a practice. Totally cool. Dentistry is going to be your checking account, but your savings account is going to be ownership of other businesses, whether that's ownership of Amazon stock or commercial real estate or whatever. For those that don't wish to own a dental practice, totally cool, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But you must be a business owner to create wealth, because if you're having a linear exchange of time and money, you'll never get rich. And Naval Ravikant says, if you need a degree to do it, it will never make you truly wealthy. So for those that are not dental business owners, totally cool, 100%. I think it's really cool to decouple your earnings and your retirement account. Like for all of us, if our practice is imploded, our retirement, our earnings, everything goes down together, at least a majority of it. So for those who are saying, I don't want to own a dental practice, fine, but don't say that you do not want to be a business owner, because you need to do a business ownership of some sort. Yeah. I think it's important. And I look at you, Dwight, with the controlling interest in the real estate that you're doing. Mm-hmm. Your dental practice is going to be incidental. Your ownership in your dental practice might wind up, on the pace that you're going, being an incidental percentage to your total net worth. Do you see that, Dwight, or not really?
Yeah. I am like your buddy Randy. I keep an eye on my net worth development as much as I do my balance sheets on my businesses, and I think it's really important to watch that. That was something I was taught early on by my father, and keep an eye on some of those things, diversify where that's coming from. But I think it is important to know that your business is going to output a lot of other businesses, to say the least.
That's the cash that you use for business.
Yeah.
But like, if your pace continues, Dwight, I don't imagine, and again, I might be getting too personal here, I don't imagine you owning larger and larger and larger percentages of Fort Bend Dental.
No.
You're going to probably own the percentage that you own, then the organization will grow, but not as fast as your real estate empire will grow. So
they're coupled though, Greg. So
they are, but they're not coupled from an ownership interest. So if
no, but you're right. But the value of one is predicated on the other, and vice versa.
Right. But what will wind up happening at a certain point, especially with the Fort Bend organizational appetite for expansion, it's the business you're in and the business you're becoming. Dwight is slowly but very steadily becoming a real estate professional.
Well, dude, Dwight is experiencing, like, we had on the call, like he's the arbitrage situation presented himself to him, and he said, I'll take that, because I can build this building for 2, and immediately with a 10-year long-term lease in there, it's worth 4.5 million, right? So it's immediate arbitrage. And that's why I was
tax efficiency of it. His dental income is heavily taxed.
Right.
I mean,
heavily taxed.
We got to remember that everybody needs to hear the number one expense in your life, in your practice, is not your salaries, it's taxes. number one expense for all of us.
Right. So that $4.5 million gets eventually, or I guess 80% of it now in 2023 from a bonus depreciation standpoint, gets abated from the AGI, it's gross income over years, and that's a carry forward deduction.
Crazy.
It's crazy, right? So these are the things I can't wait for Randy. Randy's teaching at some of this. I know he was on the pod. Greg, I know you've mentioned him so much, and but Randy's going to be at Summit kind of talking about that. Dwight, I think there's so much power to what you said. I'm going to go back to that. The monthly, you visited on a monthly increment. You look at the network, your network statement.
Right.
On a monthly increment.
My wife and I, we sit down, we know exactly what our personal balance sheet is, what our net worth growth is, where it's scaling, where it's directed. And the truth is it's just as important, if not more important, because it gives you freedom of direction in deciding where you can go and where you're investing in alongside your businesses, whether just dentistry, whether just your practices, and then taking those steps. And I remember that was a big portion of the rationale of how I was able to make that decision on that first one. None of the partners wanted to build when I built my first building, right? And even I had to sit back and say, do I want to build this $4.5 million building? Do I have the cash set aside? And, I'd been in business before. I was trying to kind of recruit that cash, put it aside. Now, Amanda and I have been together most of my life. I mean, when we got out of college, we bought our first car cash. Like, we were those types of people who knew what we had, what we wanted to avoid spending on, what we wanted to invest into, those types of things. And that's not easy, but it was a hard decision to say, hey, let's do it. But we had a lot of clarity because we were watching those numbers. We were watching where that was going, and we understood some of the other components. Now, it was through mentorship, as y'all sent y'all the video of the first time I was standing on that land, and it was like, here we go. Here's that first one. And it was mentorship that then you got to take advantage of the other benefits that I wasn't necessarily knew about. I mean, extremes. I knew of some cost segs, but not to the level that now I've pushed it at, right? Tax savings, development plans, how you take the aggregate value of one building, then has aggregate increased its appraised value, and then you can throw it over to another building. You keep augmenting things of that nature. That's all coming from collaboration amongst colleagues, friends, mentorship. And I think that that's a big deal for me. But it has to be aligned with the fact that I actually know where I stand today and where I want to go.
It's so good. I love that, everything you just said. So, I mean, some of these laws, guys, we hear about, like, Packham's law or Pearson's law or whatever. Pearson's law is something I see really being the truth in that. And what you were just saying, that, what we give attention to usually grows, essentially is the nuts of it. Yeah. And when you are that consistent with your review, what worked, what didn't. How do we pivot, right? How do we course correct if we're not tracking or going the way we want? Because there will be mistakes along the way, right? But if you're just kind of like, I hope everything works out, what do they say? Like, planning to fail is failing to plan is planning to fail.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's great. I really, right when Randy said that he did that every month, and I was, that was obviously doing it too. And I was like, I like this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it makes you feel good because in some ways you feel a little obsessive,
right?
Or you feel a little like focused on the wrong thing, or it's like, am I too money hungry? Or it's like, it is the method by which you should know these decisions we can make, especially within our business, or when you're buying some personal stuff that's a large ask or an asset of whatever type. Like, how do you not know what's going on? Like, you can find yourself in pretty deep doo-doo just trying to be like, hey, I'm gonna.
Yeah. Are you overextended is a thing. And sometimes banks will catch that and say, we can't approve your loan because they don't want to say you're overextended, but you're overextended.
That's right.
But you having the knowledge of just saying, hey, I see your dinky little PFS statement that you just sent me for me to fill out in pen, but here's a spreadsheet.
Here's mine.
Beat it, troll. Right.
Updated. If you need it updated every month, it can be automated. I mean, that's the gameplay. And I think we put a lot of that effort into building our business, or at least at some point in time, we get mature enough in our business where we automate that to give us that data by the 7th.
I don't even think you automate it. Dwight, I don't think you can. I don't think that is something you want to automate. I think that is something that needs your human
attention,
eyes on. Yep.
And when you data enter that spreadsheet, you become very familiar with
it. It's like remember writing shit in your own handwriting when you were in school? Like, you learned it a lot quicker, right?
Yeah.
than taking someone else's notes, which I think I did too often. Can I borrow your notes? You know, it didn't work so well.
Can I borrow your vision?
Can I get a copy of your notes?
So
Take
true.
a copy of your vision. I like your vision. The way
Yeah.
it sounds.
Oh,
That's
well.
awesome. That's awesome.
All
think-
right, guys, we are right at an hour. Unless any of you guys got any closing things.
That's beautiful, fellas.
Hey, quick one. Summit. We still got a little bit of tickets left. Still some rooms blocked, but we got Kyle Stanley, who I'm super pumped about.
Yeah.
He's gonna be speaking on the main stage along with Uchi Odiatu. I have to say it like that. Uchi Odiatu. But yeah, Kyle's a rock star. Kyle's doing really good work, guys, on fulfillment and burnout. I mean, never mind that he has Pearl AI, which is badass, I've heard, but he's doing a lot of heavy lifting on burnout. There's a major crisis going on, a mental health crisis going on in dentistry.
What is he speaking at Summit on? Because
On his fulfillment, on his beating dental burnout thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very pertinent and great topic.
It is, and he's
why do you say that, Trey?
I think that dentistry in and of itself is a stressful profession, and it's a lonely profession, like we've talked about. And the joke I always make, although I love dentistry, but the joke I've always made is that the next career I have, I'm selling something that people want, which basically means drugs, sex, rock and roll, that's booze. But it's a very different world that we live in, where we're selling 2-inch needles in your face. And although we all like to, pretty it up and say we're selling a smile and all that stuff, which we are, but you got to overcome the 2-inch needle too for $1,500 or whatever the deal is. So it's not you have the stress of people are not your biggest fan. Plus you live in what Craig always touches on. You live in micromillimeters.
Right. Success and failures. Right.
Yeah. And then couple that with the fact that we're not kind to each other, but repetition over a 30-year period burns anybody out. And what we do is attention to detail. So it puts us at the forefront of that burnout train. You got to be really
some of this
diligent
dental.
about
You
it.
think some of this? I don't know the name of it anymore, guys. But like this dental porn shit on Instagram. You think that's adding to it or not? Like we're
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's garbage.
I mean, I know, right? I know this, but I'm just saying. Like, do you think that that's contributing? Wow, my cases don't look like that. I must be a failure, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's we didn't see all their 10 shitty cases before that one magical one, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that, Craig? Do you think that
for sure?
Okay.
I think I think the biggest thing, the common thing that unnerves and settles most human beings that I've had the pleasure of working with is typical story goes along like, hey, I think you could really help me. Okay, why? Because you have all your life figured out and I see what you're doing. I'm like, hey, buddy, I don't have my life figured out. It's really hard to be me sometimes and I struggle. Really? It's hard? Yes, it's really fucking hard for me. And there's days that I feel like I'm doing it all wrong. There's days I feel like I have imposter syndrome. There's moments before Summit where we get on, I'm like, am I really fit to teach these people?
Right.
And so it's a human phenomenon that we all believe that we suffer alone. And when you realize that all the people suffer, the greats and the not so great, it's this permission to be like, okay, it's normal. So I think the trajectory is that people in the dental porn or whatever you want to call it, just think that these other people don't have it tough. And it reminds me of a quote, people get rewarded in public for what they intensely practice for in private. It is meant to be hard. No, I'm not sorry you're going through a hard time because we've all gone through it. And what happens in life is as we get older, things get harder. And then we go backwards in life and we look back at like last week or last month when it was not that hard because something really hard showed up. Like this week, you're upset about your Google reviews. Next week, you're upset because a loved one is sick.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty of life is the constant context that we get delivered by God, or I believe in God.
And sometimes I think as you get older, Craig, you probably, I know you've said this, but you kind of are more proud of the adversity that you went through, right? The pain in the ass kicking, the tragedy you're going through was the actual reward as you look back and reflect.
Yeah. I mean,
that's where I know I'm stating the obvious for you.
Yeah, it's not the obvious for the average listener. So when Gavin was trying out for the All-Star game, baseball game, and in the middle of the game, the coaches are taking notes looking around the field, and Gavin's got talent. He's the heaviest hitter in the league because he's a big boy. He's tall and he's strong, so he can knock that ball. So, and he goes into the dugout. It's a hot day in Florida, and he lies on the bench, lying down. And the coaches are looking at him and they're writing notes. And I go over to Gavin. I'm like, Gavin, what the hell are you doing, buddy? He's like, Dad, leave me alone. I was like, listen, I don't want to be here, bud. I want to go home. I want to go to the ranch. What are we doing here? If you don't want to take this game seriously, let's just bounce out. Like, I don't need to be here. This is your game. He goes, Dad, you're just jealous because you never were an all-star player. I'm like, listen, I was never a baseball player, but talent is overrated. And the problem for you, son, is you got talent. He goes, yeah, I do, Dad. Watch this. He goes up. He gets up there. He bounces the ball off the fences, 200 and whatever the hell feet. And everybody's cheering, MVP. And guess what? This motherfucker didn't get called for the baseball team. He didn't make the all-star team because talent is overrated.
Yes.
You know, I would rather someone be hungry and vested in their winnings and their failings than be apathetic and talented.
That's right.
And
well, it becomes a rudder if you're not careful.
Right. So
dragging in the mud.
And I think that coming full circle to why there's so much unfulfillment in dentistry and unhappiness is because people are suffering alone in silence. And us as men, not to say that the girls don't have it particularly difficult too, men tend to suffer alone and cork it. And when you cork that becomes really problematic. And the ladies, they have their own set of unique challenges between balancing all the other stuff they have to balance with. I don't know how they do it, but the men have very few outlets. They don't talk.
Yeah,
and that's what causes the extreme desperation in our profession.
that's good stuff.
All right, y'all want to talk about AI? I'm just kidding.
That's awesome. Oh my God, Craig, that is such bullshit. Let's talk about AI. So anyway,
That's
that
feeling shit sounds weird. But anyway, back to robot stuff.
Exactly. Anyway, gentlemen, great seeing you all.
Likewise.
Great work. Thanks for listening.
Trey's
And
still working on his camera.
If you
Yeah,
liked
no,
it,
it's
drop a
broken.
comment. We love a comment. We read every single comment.
Got
Yeah, actually, you're right, and that's what I've noticed that other pods have been asking. I hear more about people saying like, "Hey, watch the pod on YouTube," like even the big guys, because there's the ability to leave comments, right? And like that is the oxygen for what I'm finding everybody, because you want to see like, are we directionally going, making people happy, creating value?
We're just talking to ourselves.
Yeah, we need a piece of software to ask for comments.
No, but
You
it's
need
like,
to send out a generic template and get some responses.
No, but
Instead of
I
calling
read
it
all
out.
do you read all the comments, guys? I do.
I do for
I
sure.
do.
Yeah, it's good.
It's fun. It's fun to hear, even if it's like an ass kicking comment where it's like, you guys are,
Don't
that's still fun. And when we get
one
bad
of us is
reviews, we
annoying.
are
Please
we
call us
are going to say, when we get bad things said, we're going to publicly say the good, say, I'm just kidding. Publicly
I would
bring
like
them
to.
up.
Let's
Like
We're
the
gonna
all
meet
in
him and
did.
move on.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe that'll be our next check.
No, because I don't want to incentivize people to talk
Reddit.
shit.
Yeah.
By the way, I needed to say something about all in.
Uh-oh.
And I haven't really been liking it lately.
Oh, I love it.
Nah, it's been super snooze fest for me. Just gonna say.
Oh my God, I
It's because
love
they
it.
were getting political,
Why?
and that's why you
Yeah,
What,
it
is
just
that
doesn't seem. I liked it when there was like actual teachings as opposed to like this grandstand. I don't know.
I
Like
love it.
anyway, but
All
I will tell you my favorite one right now.
Oh yeah, First Millions or whatever.
My First Million, yeah.
You're supposed to send me
That's
that.
a great pod. That's a great pod.
Which
They're just
episode do y'all
funny.
like? Which one should I check out first?
I
Tell me.
mean, I'll send you one, bud. But I think it's a really
Send me
good one. I try out so many guys. I really do try a lot of pods out.
I jumped
And-
too. Yeah.
And I don't find any that are really sticky. And I hope, I think I look at them to try to say like, well, why is this one sticky and this one's not? And let's not do what the not one is, because, you want to make it as entertaining as possible. And, even inside the world of dentistry, which is tough.
It is tough.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Good to
Thanks,
see you.
guys. See y'all.
See you later.
Bye-bye. It's
Wet your
over.
beak. Wet your beak. I'm
We're not
going
over yet.
on to
All right. Bye-bye.